I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico. This is the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Richard Primrose.
Here.
Ms. Teresa Stephenson.
Here.
Mr. Tom Sigbo.
Here.
Mr. Jimmy Sandoval.
Here.
And Mr. Box is not here yet.
All right. Were there any public comments?
No,
Received anything? Okay. Next, we'll go to the approval of our minutes for our regular board meeting for April the 29th.
Do we have to approve the agenda?
Oh,
The agenda.
well, I thought I just did. Oh, okay. First is approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for today's meeting? Any additions or deletions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
The roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
Mr. Sigbo.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
And Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And motion carried.
We still didn't have any comments from public.
No, sir. No, it says-
All right. Next is approval of the minutes for our regular board meeting, April the 29th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any additions or deletions, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Next is Chairman's report. First of all, I'd like to thank AOC for having their legislative meeting here, and not AOC, LFC.
I'm wondering.
I must have been taking a nap this afternoon. I woke up.
I thought I was in the wrong place.
Well, you weren't at that meeting?
No.
I'll especially thank Representative Chatfield and Senator Woods for setting that up, and we've finished another semester, and I'd like to take time to thank the staff and faculty and all of the people that it takes to run the college. I think they did an outstanding job, and I know that they worked really hard to get us where we are the last couple of years, and I'd like to really thank them for all the job that they've done. It's really amazing
Second
what
that.
we've come this far in such a short time, and it's because of our personnel, I think, and Dr. Moss for leading us. We appreciate it. Next under reports is the President's report. Dr. Moss.
So you guys have my report. I just wanted to highlight a couple things and add a few things. We'd mentioned a while back we were having some conversations within New Mexico State University and their Ag Center here. Went to Clayton with our SBDC director a week or two ago. I can't even remember now. He was talking to the Rotary Club, and I actually got to meet a couple of people from their Ag Science Center up there, and they are also interested in, what could we do to work together. So met with just brief conversation with President Ferme at the LFC meeting. Jay Lillywhite was there as well, and so don't know what will come of that, but we're going to keep pursuing that. And see what we can work on together. Audits, as far as I know, we're still, the last time I talked with Mr. Hill, still, looking at possibly end of June, but more likely sometime in July before the 24 audit's done. And she's still planning on completing the 25 audit by the November deadline. So that is very exciting. Still means a lot of work to get through that point. Special audit is still scheduled to be done June 30th, and we're gonna have to really watch when they bill. I've already talked to auditors for the special audit and the 24 audit and HED, because we want to get that billing, as much of it as possible, done before June 30th, so that we can submit that for reimbursement from HB2 or State Board of Finance, because that money will revert after that date. And so we want to make sure we get everything in and get it reimbursed before we go the next year. I am working on responses. I got some preliminary findings on the special audit. Absolutely no surprises. It's stuff we're already all aware of, behind on our audits and things like that. But I also feel like, 90% of it has already been addressed, and the other 10% we're working on. So hope to get that back to them, and then they should release their final report. I'm hoping end of June, if not before then. They're still looking at a couple other things in that audit. ERC funding, I sent y'all an update on that. We are expecting to get that check any day now. That's one of the purchase requests for y'all to approve today, because there'll be a 20% fee to the company that did that. But again, a big shout out to Mr. Box for seeing that article in Trustees Quarterly and mentioning it at a board meeting. And then once we got with them and got the application done, my hope is that that's going to be over 700,000 again, that we haven't really planned on, but it will go a long way toward rebuilding our fund deficit, helping us build our reserve back up some. And so that's extremely exciting. Capital outlay, you all hopefully approve that today, but that will actually go to the meeting in Roswell July 30th. We've got quite a few people attending the Genzabar conference this week. Was fortunate enough, Tucumcari School District allowed me to present an award to Mr. Aaron Chand as the only dual student who graduated high school with his associate degree. And so I was able to participate in their graduation, and really appreciate them letting me do that. EPCOG is having a meeting here in Tucumcari June 11th. I think it's their annual meeting. Does that sound right? So I think that's going to be at the convention center. Are looking at a couple positions still. Of course, we've got to rehire a recruiter due to Miss Shelby Valdozer leaving, but also looking to add a kind of entry-level person in the business office. Still looking to add a dean of instruction. Is that the term we're using? Okay, that'll work under Joel's department. Potentially one more IT person to help the staff that we've already got. So those are some things we're looking at as far as hiring. Also got a invite, and I visited with one of the people from New Mexico State, or not, the New Mexico Chamber of Commerce, which is like the state level of the Chamber of Commerce. asking if we were interested in joining. I think for us it's around $900 and some annually. I think it would be a good endeavor for us, so I'm going to look at moving forward with that. They're meeting, I think, the end of June or July. I can't remember which month. But it would also give us maybe a little more exposure in the state, some connections that maybe we don't have with some larger businesses in the state. So anyway, looking at doing that. Then I'm going to be going to a couple conferences. I'll put that in my report. I'm probably forgetting some things, but I'll open for questions.
Any questions for Dr. Moss on his report? Thank you. Next, we have an update on the HLC report. Dr. Edwards.
So I've asked Dr. Yeah, go ahead. Come on. Dr. Edwards is now our kind of expert on HLC. He has graciously taken on a lot of the efforts that Dr. Hackett would have been doing. She had reached out, which we knew she was going to be able to do less and less, and so she actually sent me a message a week ago or so saying she just couldn't commit to anything on our part. She hated that, but Dr. Edwards has done a great job at stepping in, working with Larry Sanderson, and so I'll turn it over to him.
Mr. Chairman, and if it please the board, I've got some things to present here for you by way of update. The exhibit that we've got here is basically, and this was already published in a letter that HLC sent us. Would have been December of 23 or January 24, something like that. So all of this is already a matter of public record, but I thought I'd summarize it for you in kind of a dime store novel version. So that if you need to revisit it at any point, you'll have sort of an easily digestible version of it. So what we've got here for Exhibit 4 is just a list of the findings that HLC gave us in their site visit during September 2023, and the things that we've worked on since then in order to ameliorate the findings that they have for us. So obviously the things that say, the items that say met with concerns, we want to work on those and try to get that into a met condition. The items that have a not met condition are items that we absolutely have to have brought up to snuff by the time that HLC revisits here in September. As Dr. Moss said, I've been working on this. Larry Sanderson has been working on this, and we've been in virtual constant contact for the last few weeks, putting the documentation together. We've also had a lot of help from folks here on campus. The committee heads, Kim Enriquez, Janet, I'm spacing on Janet's last name. I don't know Janet's last name. Griffiths, thank you. I'm sorry, Janet, if you're watching, it's not personal. Simon Chavez have all done a good deal of work in hunting down different pieces of documentation, and sometimes people who need to be hunted down in order to put a lot of this documentation together. All of this information has to be submitted to HLC no later than July. So we do have some work still to do, but we also already have put together a lot of that work. For my understanding is that for the June 17th board meeting, our HLC liaison, Jamie Stanessa, will meet with the board in order to kind of give you some preparation and give you an idea of what the HLC site visitors might want to see from the board during our site visit. They almost certainly will want to meet with at least one or two without triggering quorum rules, just to get an idea of how the board functions and things like that. It's possible that we'll have some preparatory visits with Larry Sanderson in August or September to warm up faculty and staff for the site visit, so everybody's on the same page and so we know what's going on. Federal compliance and insurance assurance arguments are due July 27th. The site visit will take place September 22nd and September 23rd. We've already received information on the HLC accreditation team. I think there are 5 members. We want all faculty and staff to be on hand for that visit so that we can put our best foot forward. Our hope, of course, given the efforts that we've undertaken to ameliorate the HLC's findings since 2023 and some of the other endeavors that we've undertaken here on campus over the last 2 or 3 years to fix up house a little bit, we're hoping that we'll have our probationary status removed. Obviously, we strongly believe that that needs to be the case, but we're doing our best to put the best documentation forward that we can, so that HLC comes to that conclusion as well. The site visit team, as I mentioned, we have the roster. It seems to look good, and a lot of the members seem to be a good fit for the college. There are a lot of folks on there who have experience with not just community colleges, but rural community colleges, from a presidential capacity down to a staff capacity. So we're hoping for a positive visit there. Between quarter 4 2025 and quarter 1 2026, Mesalands will receive the site visit report from the site visit in September, and we'll have the opportunity to respond to any concerns that are in that report. And then in quarter 1 of 2026, the HLC Board of Directors will meet, and they will notify us of our status change if applicable. So that is, that coupled with my exhibit is basically the formal update that I have for you. I will add really quick before I terminate that I've had over the last few months, I've had a lot of opportunities to peek behind the curtain, as it were, and look at a lot of the different processes and people who do those jobs. And I know that no one's perfect, but I can confidently state that Mesalands is full of earnest, hardworking staff who are working hard for the benefit of the students and the college and the community. And a lot of the staff, faculty, and administration at Mesalands deserve a nice big pat on the back for all the work that's been done over the last few years. And we're hoping that we can have a big old celebration in quarter 1 2026 and have all these things behind us. I'm open to questions now if there are any.
Any questions or comments to Dr. Edwards about his report?
Just that we appreciate everything you're doing to step up.
Absolutely.
We're
Yes.
really glad that you're taking this on and appreciate your efforts in getting us back on track and in
Is there,
compliance.
excuse me, is there anything that looks like may not be met as far as the findings?
That's a good question. From where I'm sitting, no. There are some items that haven't been updated in a few years, handbooks and things like that. But other than maybe kind of some routine things like that, I'm not. And of course, this is from where I sit. I've had my hands on a lot of different pieces of this puzzle, and so I'm naturally a little bit protective of it. But from where I sit, I'm not really anticipating any major issues as long as we get the information in that we need to get. And Dr. Moss has been very helpful with helping to line up those pieces. As long as we get the information that we need and all the documents prepared on time, I'm fairly optimistic that we're going to have a positive visit.
Without committing 100%.
Yeah. Nothing's ever 100%.
Along with that, and I still have at least 2 things I need to get to Dr. Edwards, but what I'd like to do is have some financial projections for the next 2-3 years for you all to look at and approve at the June meeting. And that way it can tie into his report. And also, we don't have time to do the complete strategic planning that we need to undergo as a college, but we'll kind of come up with a few pages of here's where we feel like we're going to go, and I want to bring that to you all too before we submit that in June. And I also forgot during my report, I would like y'all to consider moving the June board meeting to the following week, which is the 24th, to give us a little bit of more time to get some of these things together, because we'd also like to do the personnel handbook, admin handbook, so that those are up to date when we start the 25-26 school year. Sorry, I took
No,
away
that's-
from your.
No, that's absolutely perfect, but, it's, hopefully, Mr. Sidwell, looking down the list, you'll see that a lot of these items of concern were with, the openings that we had in faculty and staff position, and mostly staff position, mostly business office at the time, that were of concern to HLC. Some of these, issues were with regard to audits, which we're definitely working on cleaning up. And there might have been there was something in there also about how a member or two of the board and some members of administration were relatively new to their positions, and that was concerning to HLC. But given that that we've had a number of audits come up clean now, and that we have the administration and the board has remained in that position now for some time, I'm hoping that as long as we don't have any new concerns to deal with, and that's what I'm trying to make sure there are no new concerns to deal with. That the ones that we had findings on back in 2023 have been resolved, and that we can boldly move forward with business as usual, which is a very strange notion now, but hopefully it becomes less of a strange notion in the next few months.
Yeah, everything was finance related, and once we get that squared away, it all falls in line, so.
Yeah. One of the things they did ask of us is to get training, the trustees, which we're doing.
And Margaret provided me a nice long list of training that I've already written that section in the argument and posted that information. So thank you all for participating in that. It's going to make my job an awful lot easier when I have to stare down the barrel of some of their tough questions in September.
Any other questions for Dr. Edwards? Well, we appreciate your report and all that you do. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Next is our NMHED Quarterly Financial Action Report.
So this is through quarter three, which would be March. Again, my hope is after quarter four, we don't have to check that first box anymore. Basically, it's just, it says request in advance of state subsidy. And so what Scott Eccles said was, we need to check that as long as we're getting any support from HB2. But, as far as I know, once we hit June 30th and start the new year, I don't feel like we've relied on that for the last year and a half, but we won't have to check that anymore. And we won't have to give, an explanation of why we're doing that tied to that quarterly financial report. So, nothing different. We're still using that money for audits, Genzabar, Mr. Gray, and Miss Charmer. And that's about it.
Or an audit?
Yeah,
Big audit?
audits and special audit. So,
Yes, thank you. That's good. It's basically the last several quarters has been the same until we no longer use HB2. Any other questions on the quarterly financial? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the quarterly financial report.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
All right. Next is purchase requisition approval for Sheridan Wealth Advisors. I wish Mr. Box was here for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a big amount, $78,151, but, you know, when we started that process, when you're talking about money, that you know, in a sense, a real jumpstart to us, if they're able to get that $390-some thousand back for the college, and I think it was listed as under lost revenue. You know, 20% is not doesn't sound like a big deal. It also is worthy to note that the check that we should get for the ERC credit is around 471,000 or so, and so the difference from the 390 to the 470 is interest that was earned from that period till when we actually get paid. And that interest alone will pay for Sheridan's fee for this filing.
Okay, so you don't have to do the 20% on the interest, or?
No, all they charge is 20% on the principal. And so the check we should get should be 470-some thousand, but we should still clear right at the 390,000 in that ERC credit. So
That's a win-win.
absolutely, we probably need to give Mr. Box a candy bar or something the next time he's back.
That's a pretty big gift for such a small amount. All right, if there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this requisition. Sheridan will.
So moved.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
All right, next is Career and Technical Education Budget, CTE.
So this is, I hadn't said much about this in the past, and this is the first year we got a significant amount in Perkins money. Before it was around 25 to 29,000. And it's taken all year to get this through, and it's a lot of trouble but I also don't hate to give up on it. So we finally got the budget numbers in. Well, first of all, Joel got the budget numbers. I thought we had everything put in, and then we met with PED about, 3 months ago or so. And I said, well, we're not showing an approved budget. So we had to do a bar, resubmit it. Then Rochelle and I spent several times sending it back and forth, approving at different levels. And then finally she was ready to submit it last week, and it popped up a question, has this been approved by your board? And so it hadn't been. So we needed your all's approval. CTE or Perkins money, it has to be tied to certain areas. And for the past several years, we've tied ours mainly to wind. And it has to be tied in some way to high school students. And that's why it comes from through PED. An interesting part that's not relative to this budget is next year we're only going to be eligible for 22,000. And if you don't get at least 50, you can't be a standalone entity. So we have to look for somebody to partner with. There are consortiums out there. One's in Raton, one's in Ruidoso. I also asked about the possibility of just partnering, say, with Tucumcari School. And I'm going to try to meet with them sometime next week and see how we could work together so that money would get used in our area and benefit potentially our students and the high school students, so. Anyway, that's a lot more information than just the budget.
Basically, it's grant funded and it's $50,000 and we need approval.
Yeah.
For our CTE. Any other questions or concerns about this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget for the CTE program.
Yeah, make a motion to approve this budget as presented.
Second,
Motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right. Next is our April 2025 financial report.
Ooh, Dr. Edwards has me really stressed now, knowing what HLC is looking at. So I don't have my report in front of me, so if we can pull it up, that'd be great. I got a new computer and, with all the little bugs you gotta work out. So, here's our bank balances. And, what's the date up in the right-hand corner? I think I need it
19,
current.
519.
Okay, so that was as of 5/19 what the balances were then. And then it's our, CDs. And then,
Just
and that's also on the first page, it pulls it on over.
for just a second, go back to the CDs just for Mr. Box's request that the New Mexico Bank and Trust is still at 1%, and I don't think that one's right. And
So
The
that
ci-
New Mexico Bank and Trust one was the one that was opened real
Long
quick
time ago.
per HED, right? And,
Or US Department of Ed.
or your Department of Ed,
Yeah.
sorry, yes. And
But he
so-
also asked about the
Citizens
citizens,
Bank.
or not, everyone's federal credit union.
Well, Citizens Bank has 0.
Oh, well, so, and also, I don't know why, but I'm not getting the statements on those either, so it's
Okay.
not, I haven't been able to update the percentages. I do know the, New Mexico Bank and Trust is correct, because that one was set for
Long
a
time.
good amount of time, it's gonna be that way. And the Citizens, I just renewed that one, so that one, maybe I just didn't update that, I'm sorry, I'll get that updated for the next one.
All right.
I'll double check that. I thought I had updated that one.
I know Citizens, they had agreed that they would meet that same, like treasury amount or whatever that the state, and everyone said the same thing too, so maybe you or I need to reach out to court and see what, if that's the actual interest rate we're getting.
Maybe everyone, the Citizens was a brand new one, and, so I just had to go in there and renew that one.
We did.
Right,
Yeah.
didn't you go sign that one too, Mr. Kermit?
Yes, I did go sign that. So
I'll double check that one.
it's just been renewed.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to give us the state, in which everyone's credit union. We may have to wait until
And so
July.
everyone is supposed to meet the state pool amount?
Full amount.
What
They said
is
they
the
would.
amount?
I think it's it's around that 4.7.
Okay.
4.4, somewhere in there.
My understanding when we switched that was that they were gonna move that then to that amount, so it may just need to be a follow-up conversation with him.
All right. Thank you.
And then, just go listing of all the checks for April. Are there any questions on any of the checks?
Anybody have any questions for Rochelle?
We
Any
may
other
also,
questions on any of those pages?
we may also wanna have a conversation about moving the funds in Wells Fargo to a CD.
Right.
And when we start getting that ERC money in, moving some of it to a CD as well, I think our cash balances are sufficient, that now we could see about earning more on some of those other funds.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good idea.
At the very minimum, we could always move, the Wells Fargo into the general operating for the time being, just to move it over if you want. There's that option too.
Any other questions for Michelle? POs or the financial report? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 2025 financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the April financial report.
Second,
Motion and a second, roll call please.
Ms. Stevenson,
yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and Mr. Reynolds.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Kaiser's no, or Mr. Kaiser is here. Mr. Kaiser.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have my report for academic affairs. And I want to take a moment to draw you to item number 1, just to give you an idea of what's happening on campus. So next week, our summer main campus and corrections courses will begin. So these are 8-week sessions. Main campus does break down into these mini semesters, these 4 weeks. So we'll start seeing students back on campus, a lot more activity. And hopefully our instructors will be prepared, have all their content ready. So a lot of programming is going to happen in the next couple of days to help support that activity. Item number 3, under workforce, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight our CNA program. They just completed a clinical rotation from 518 to 522, and that was out at Union County in Clayton. And our instructors, Fallon Garcia and Ashley Osborne, took 8, I believe it was 8 students out for the clinical rotation. And I had some good feedback on how they presented themselves and how they worked in real time, that clinical event. So that's really exciting for those students. Again, this is non-credit bearing, this is workforce program. So at the end of our CNA training that we're hosting, our students are hopefully prepared to then take their end of term CNA test for their national credential. And they have 2 years from the end of their training to take that testing credential. So my hope is that we have 100% that go into the workforce. So that's really exciting for those students and those instructors. Again, that program was a new pilot program, and that was sponsored by New Mexico Higher Ed Division's Adult Ed Integrated Education Training Funding. So great success there. Other areas of the workforce that we're working on this summer, we're submitting an integrated education training grant application for phlebotomy program, and that'll hopefully support non-credit phlebotomy training for the next semester as well. And we'll see that on the non-credit side there. We also have the welding program with Brian Hughes, our welding instructor. He's developed out a curriculum through the American Welding Society curriculum. So we're hoping to actually pilot that in the fall as well. And I don't anticipate those, both phlebotomy and welding, starting at the same time as our main campus classes, our credit-bearing classes. They'll probably be delayed about a month or two, depending on our funding source from the state, and then if the curriculum and, of course, classroom supplies are all ready. That way, when we're ready to kick it off, there's no delays in that training. Also, under item number 3, I think we have our IGA agreement coming up for NMCD corrections. It happens every year about this time, and I'm hoping that we've done it enough now, it'll be smoother, we'll give the state enough time, give us enough time for these agreements to go back and forth. I'm sure they hit multiple lawyers on that side, so I'll let them have that part of the exchange. But that's happening, and that actually sets up our programming for the entire year for corrections as well. Also, need to take a moment to special thanks to Dr. Edwards here and his efforts and leadership with this HLC committee and guiding these Criterion committee chairs to assemble all this documentation and evidence. This is a major task on our institution. And Mr. Sidwell, to kind of answer your question, are there any other items that are outstanding that would bring concern? And what I was thinking about when you said that is we're at a different place now as an institution with our leadership, and I think with our staff and faculty. And that gives me a lot of relief knowing that, as compared to that 2023 visit where, yeah, I'll forget that one. A lot of good work's being done, and just to take a moment to acknowledge that. Other than that, we're in the process again. We're building out semesters, handbooks, SOPs, and this is normal for this time of year. So all the busy work, I would argue, happens in the next couple of months, and then hopefully we're on some sort of cruise control. I'm really looking for cruise control. Any other questions about any of these items that are presented?
I'd just like to add, I don't want to just keep heaping praise on Dr. Edwards, but Dr. Edwards, in addition to this HLC stuff, he's still been a full-time history teacher, faculty member for the college, and he does a lot of work in our ESL programs with our Spanish-speaking students. So he's kind of worked 2 and 3 jobs this semester, and we really appreciate him stepping in.
Joel, on the welding, is that gonna be available for the high school students?
Right, it'll be, hopefully, this is where the CTE program will overlap in some of our workforce applications. So we have 2 different types of welding we're gonna address. We're gonna address with the AWS curriculum, that will prepare students to sit for a pull test and a weld test. And I'm not sure of the specifics of the test. I remember at one time having to weld a 90 and then have to do a pull test against it. So it's those kind of applications to get the national certification. The other side is more of a fundamentals credit class for those students that are not quite prepared for the discipline of showing up and putting the time into the welding practice, but it gets them familiar with different welding applications, from MIG welding to stick welding and the safety tied to it. So I would see both. You might actually see some dual credit students that actually go on and do the true certification, and then others that want to kind of just get their feet wet and see if they're ready for it.
That will happen. Yeah, I thought Joel and I might get crossways, but no. what I'd like to see is when they graduate from high school, maybe they've taken the fundamentals either at this high school or in our program, and by the time their seniors go through the advanced stuff, so that they have a certification when they graduate high school. And so,
Yeah, we have a friend of ours from Garita that his daughter just graduated high school and the associates from Luna. And she was awarded a certificate or something for aerospace welding, which is, I guess, pretty darn good.
It'd be aluminum welding and all
Yeah,
sorts of
aluminum
stresses.
and and qualified for aerospace welding, and she just graduated high school. That's
That's
quite a lot.
amazing.
That's
Yeah,
good.
That's really
amazing.
something.
Great accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I would add too that, on top of that certificate, and this is more on the workforce side, there's these micro-credential certificates that fall in those as well, and I know one of them's called NCCER, NICER certificate that's tied to building trade safety and readiness, and that has OSHA 10 and some other micro certs built in. And the idea behind that is to make those candidates more attractive for the workforce. After they do get through the certificate, they already have 2 of these micro certificates, hopefully, that are built in, where if an employer is looking at them as a potential candidate, not only do they have that national credential, but they also have that OSHA 10 that's built in. And it's also a fail-safe in case the welding doesn't work out. At least they can walk out of there with that certificate and OSHA 10 cert.
Any other questions for Mr. Kaiser?
Gonna have any mechanics for this automatic cars?
Not
Production
yet.
Cars, whatever you wanna call it.
I wish we did, because I have a Dodge Ram that needs some assistance. We're coming up in the next year or so. I think we'll see some developments that'll come out of the CDL program, maybe for some diesel mechanic. That's what I would like to see, and that'll be more to maintain a truck if we get a truck, and also to provide training, which we desperately need. As far as gasoline engines, I'm not sure where that structure would fall yet, but if we can get the CDL program started off, I would see that being, there'd be some sort of training or credit or non-credit classes that would appear. And I would think too, we can, that might be part of the conversation in a couple of months when we look at the academic strategic planning that's going forward. And that'll give you as the board, some ideas of different paths that we could take in the next couple of years to build out these programs, and of course, the costs associated with those. Believe it or not, to have a diesel mechanic program, what the cost was probably 20 years ago and now is astronomical when you look at the numbers. And I just don't understand that, working with systems that are non-computer integrated, diesel trucks and diesel engines. The second you add that computer component, so is the tools that go up to read all the electrical. So
I have an older Dodge Ram that they could start on.
I think we can have a Dodge Club over there.
Any other questions? Not, appreciate your report. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. McVeigh, you have his report.
Mr. McVeigh and Ms. Gonzalez are both in Nashville this week at the Genzimar conference, so that neither one of them are here to answer any questions.
All right, we'll move on to Mr. Martinez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. go ahead and hand these out. These will be for some of the supplemental items coming up for approval.
Were
Right
these
after I
the
do
ones
my-
that were in your email?
Yes, ma'am. And I just wanted to make sure everybody had a hard copy as well, just to be able to review it in lifetime, because I could go over it page by page if you have questions, being that these handouts, I got them to y'all late.
Thank you.
Let's see it.
So first I'll go over just my monthly report, and then there's quite a few action items. I'll go into those right after. So first and foremost, I wanted to start with some of the items that have been pending since our last meeting, last time we met. And that was involving the insurance claim for the roof on Building E, the wind energy building. Since the last time we met, the manufacturing inspection has been completed. Everything passed, everything looked good accordingly to the way it was designed. And final pay was submitted last week. So I'm happy to see that move forward and get that project completed. In regards to the HERF funds, I have some new quotes in here that are referenced in this current report, talking about the HVAC units for Building A and F. Building A is the main building and F is the Dinosaur Museum. Also, BR and R quotes were received for Building G and F. This is G building and F is the Dinosaur Museum. And then last but not least, we received a quote for the fire alarm panel to replace the fire system in Building A. Those quotes came back a little bit higher than expected for the fire alarm panel, so we're gonna have to phase that and only do a few at a time. We are also purchasing communicators. Part of the issue we're having with the fire alarm panels was the actual communicator itself. We're switching to some brand new cellular communicators, which will help with some of the faults that we've been having with these fire alarm panels. With that being said, though, going back to Building A, we will get a whole new fire alarm panel system that includes pull stations, smoke detectors, you name it. And that's the quote that I handed out to you with this packet, and I'll go over that here in a little bit. Some other things that have been going on besides just capital and kind of infrastructure type things. I've also been busy trying to update policies and procedures specifically for the administrative handbook. As we've continued to meet with auditors and things of that nature, we've realized that a lot of our policies that are set right now are a little bit maybe unreasonable. Things have changed over the years, statutes have changed. So some of my proposals that you'll see in the June meeting, the administrative handbook update, will be kind of reflecting state statute. We can always be more strict than state statute, we can't be more lenient, but we're getting to the point where some of these are so old and outdated, we're painting ourselves in the corner, and we don't want to end up doing that, making life extra difficult on ourselves, which could potentially lead to audit findings. So the overall goal is minimizing audit findings, having clean audits, but still being fiscally responsible in all the administrative areas, to include travel and per diem. Travel and per diem is another one that can be quite difficult at times, and we just want to make sure that we're bringing forth the best policies and procedures and best practices for future use of our fiscal funds. We've continued to submit documentation for the audits. As Dr. Moss gave an update earlier, we have the special audits and the FY24 audit still going in place, and we're hoping to wrap those up shortly. I also want to mention that the Dinosaur Museum will be closed at the end of June 26th, at the end of June, to do inventory. That's something that's required, that we need to make sure we have actual exact counts for our inventory. That's part of our audit as well, and it ties in with fixed assets. We're still waiting a quote to repair the John Deere tractor. We've had issues with it, and we have quite a bit of property, college property, that we have to maintain. So we want to make sure that we get that up and going again. As Rochelle mentioned earlier, we got our new laptops in that were purchased by HERF. A lot of this is to allow the staff and faculty to be allowed to be able to work from home. In the incident with COVID, the HERF funds are a rollover from COVID funds. We want to make sure that those are available if we ever have to go back to that option to have both remote learning, teaching, and any kind of remote work that we have to do from home. And then the last two things I had in our report were attending the LFC meeting and then also consistent meetings with OSA, just to make sure that we're providing everything that we need to expedite this process and get it done as quickly as possible. So at this time, I respectfully ask if you have any questions. Feel free to ask them at this time. If not, then I can start moving into the action items.
Any questions on Mr. Martinez's report? All right, next will be the purchase requisition for WWRC for the HVAC units.
So as previously mentioned, these HVAC units, they are gonna be paid for out of HER funds. The main objective of the HER funds is to provide clean air, filtered air. Again, these are funds that were left over from COVID times, and we're just trying to make sure that we don't leave any money on the table. We wanna provide the best working and learning environment that we can on campus. And with that, we will be getting 10 packaged rooftop units, which is actually really good for the amount. As you can see, there's a cost breakdown on the page that Justin just pulled up. Some of it includes not only the units themselves, but anything that's above a 5-ton unit per fire code has to actually have a built-in smoke detector and connected to our fire alarm system. So that's something that was new to me that I learned. The curb adapters are just to retrofit the existing old HVACs that there might have been a different brand or a different size. So what we're replacing them with, those are the curb adapters that have to be installed. 150 feet of condensate line. So this will be really good for us. So this will complete the Dinosaur Museum's HVAC upgrades. I believe y'all had approved another requisition at the beginning of this calendar year. I know it's been within the semester for another HVAC unit that went down over there. So with this will completely, for the year 2025 or school year 24-25, have the Dinosaur Museum, all of their HVAC units will be brand new, so they should last us at least hopefully 10-15 years. And then the rest of these units are gonna be replaced on building A. The reasoning behind that was I had Chester, our director of facilities, go out and do an inventory of all our existing HVAC units. We looked at the age of these units, but also building A probably has the most impact as far as personnel, staff, faculty, students, and I want to make sure that those highly populated and frequented areas were taken care of first. And with that, I would kindly ask Sam for any questions or for your approval upon this requisition.
So all 10 of those are gonna go to museum and building A.
Correct.
How many, just curious, how many units are there in those two buildings?
I don't have that number offhand, but I could get it. I know, like I said, Chester
A bunch.
has a number, but there's definitely a lot more than 10 on building A. And then C's recently been taken care of. I think they were actually HER funds as well. I know we did the project through WWRC. We also have a new swamp cooler and mini split units. The mini splits I think got replaced prior to my arrival in 2023 or right around when I got here. So a lot of the other buildings, they either don't have the aged HVAC units that building A did. G's not bad as well. And we also kind of did a little analysis based on what's giving us fits now. What are we having to constantly put money into repairs? What's newer? What's working fine? And after that, between Chester and Mr. Wayne Fott, we were able to get together and decide these are probably the best units to replace.
All right. Any questions?
I would just add, our history with WWRC has been shaky for many reasons. But it feels like everything's being rushed for the last 6 months or 2 years, but this would allow us to use the state pricing agreement and use Wayne Fott as a subcontractor, so we can keep it local, but we can get it done quickly because we have to have this done before June 30th. So,
Is that when the HER funds expire? Do they expire?
yeah. We actually filed for 2 extensions. We filed one in 23, I think, to carry it over into 24, and then we filed another one in 24 to carry it over to 25. They're not going to give us any more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hoping that nothing happens to these funds with the current federal.
Well, that's gonna be
Government
another
going.
question now, is how may they be pulled?
So right now we're good.
And unfortunately, people don't realize that there's a lot of hoops. It's not easy to spend federal money or state money. There's a lot of procedures you have to go through to make sure you're following anything. Like Dr. Moss mentioned, one of the key aspects of this is following our thresholds of our dollar amounts. If it was over 60,000, we'd have to go out to sealed bid, and that would kill our entire time frame. Typically, for the most part, you could either go through CES, which is a little bit more of a process, or the state price agreement. They've already gone through the procurement process at the state level. So it's a little bit easier for them to itemize it. We reference the state price agreement on the quote. And once it's approved, we're off and running. Literally, I told them as soon as this meeting's done, I give them a call, and Wayne's off ordering these units. Everybody's coming together in a short period of time to make this happen. So, yeah, it's a bit stressful, but I think we're going to pull it out.
Oh, good luck. I entertain a motion to approve the purchase requisition for WWRC.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase requisition for WWRC.
Second.
Got a second? A roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box, oh, sorry, not Mr. Box, Mr. Primrose.
Yes. Next, we'll go to purchase requisition for fire troll protection systems.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, thank you. So, the first page in these documents that I just handed out a little bit ago is going to give the dollar amount. This project is going to be paid for out of our BR&R funds. That's our building replacement and renovation fund. And we are allocated a certain dollar amount each year through the legislature. We had 2 prior years, 2 fiscal years ago worth of money. We have the current year, FY25, and the previous year, FY24, funds that we need to spend. So again, we kind of evaluated things and started looking at safety. Anytime you have life safety concerns, or even if there's no concerns, you want to make sure you take care of life safety and emergency type issues first, and then kind of look at what's kind of icing on the cake. What can we do to improve our infrastructure? What needs to be repaired? In doing that, to make sure we're in compliance with all of our fire safety inspections that we received from the State Fire Marshal's Office, the next thing that we had that was a fire concern that's not a fire concern, but we just want to make sure we don't leave ourselves open to any vulnerabilities, is replacing the fire alarm panel. Again, the one that serves the most population on campus is Building A. The others are not as heavily populated or utilized. So this was the first priority, and then we'll continue to phase and maybe replace a panel a year depending on how much funds we have available. So the cost for the materials, laborers, design, everything associated with this project is going to be $57,164.06. After that first cover page with that breakdown, you have the formalized quote with the in-depth scope of work. And this is what I was going over earlier about the pull stations, the smoke detectors, etc. What's included with it. We'll also get floor plans that they'll completely redesign and show where everything's at. So that's huge, because to my knowledge, being here, I don't have a diagram that has that information on it right now. So when the State Fire Marshal's Office comes in for inspection, once this is complete, I can pull out that documentation to show them, look, this is exactly where every pull station's at, every fire extinguisher, every smoke detector. And that'll definitely help get us up to where we need to be. And like I said, that diagram alone for them to map that out for us is going to be very nice. I think that's it. If there's any questions on that, I stand for questions at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Martinez on the fire alarm panel? Just one fire alarm panel, right?
Just one fire alarm panel, and everything to make it work and communicate with these new detectors, police stations.
Right.
So they more than likely have to do some new wiring to communicate to the new system. We have a current brand that is a little bit more difficult to service and is more proprietary. It's probably more expensive. You're more restricted on what kind of technicians can fix that equipment. We're switching to a brand that is comparable to what we have at the wind energy building. They have really great reviews. They're a little bit simpler. There's stuff that we could do internally on our own. So it was also to be more cost efficient. For example, we could buy these certain detectors and pull stations and replace them on their own. Whereas with the current system we have now in most of these buildings, we're having to call a special fire technician to do that. So it saves time, effort, money, a little bit more efficient and updated. So yeah, it's
All
a
right.
really good thing.
If there aren't any more questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the requisition for fire patrol protection systems.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Kermos,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Sewell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is purchase requisition, Franken Construction.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is, the scope of this job will be the repairs to building F, the Dinosaur Museum, and building G, just outside of building G here on the west side. Anytime we get a significant amount of rain, we have some water leaking and coming between the sidewalk and underneath the stucco on the exterior wall. That has led, in the past, we don't have it now, I don't wanna surprise anyone, but in the past there was some remediation by the insurance that took place in the back storage closet. So with this scope of work, they're going to completely waterproof this location, fix the culprit of that water coming in. They'll repair the exterior wall, replace and redo the stucco. They'll come into the interior and the patch that's been cut out where they removed mold in the past, that will be redone with the sheetrock, textured, painted. I'm still waiting for an answer from insurance, and if for some reason the insurance, they should cover that, the repair of the wall that where they remediated the mold in the past. I'll have all the documentation, the cost breakdown, because my intent is to go back after the insurance and have them reimburse us for that cost, since we're paying that out of pocket and not through our insurance claims. So that's one thing there. The other thing at the Dinosaur Museum, we've had the same issues happening. There's water coming from underneath at the sidewalk into the wall. So they will be waterproofing the cinder block wall on the exterior. They'll be repairing the damage that's happened from the water damage on the interior. And this is kind of a preliminary estimate, with the understanding that once they start getting in there and peeling back the sheetrock, if there is any further damage or anything else, they'll note it. If there happens to be any kind of mold of any sort, we'll have to stop and remediate that. That's why I've left a little bit of funds left in the BR&R funds. We have roughly about $30,000 after all the projects are completed. And I've done it for that reason, because I'm worried about what they might find once they start digging into it. It can be more expensive than the $96,000. If that happens, again, this is using the state price agreement. We'll go through, if there's any change orders, we'll run it back to the board, get it approved, and get this stuff knocked out as soon as possible. And with that, I would stand for any questions on this requisition.
This will fix the interior portions of building G that we've had in the past, of the wind.
No. So that's building G is this building.
Oh, this
Just
building.
outside.
That's F, isn't it?
Yes, F is the Dinosaur Museum, E is the wind energy building. So that is covered by insurance. Now that the roof is complete, we're just waiting for that final inspection. The next step is to get the insurance back out here for them to get a contractor to start replacing the interior of building E.
Okay,
That has been approved and accepted already. The place I referenced that it wasn't, I haven't seen any movement is, for example, in this back little storage closet where they cut out a piece of sheetrock. So we'll continue to work with them though and do what we can to try to accelerate this whole process, because it's been painfully slow on the insurance side.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the requisition for Franken Construction.
So made.
Second.
A motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, next is our ICIP 5-year plan.
Thank you. So with that, most of this stack, out of this 39 pages, is the ICIP plan. It's a capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. The first page is a summary. That's kind of a quick, easy cheat sheet where you can see this is the priorities that have been discussed between the executive team, maybe staff, the president. What I'd like to do in the future, Dr. Moss and I talked about this morning, is bringing this to y'all maybe a little bit earlier, maybe around February, March, and have some board feedback, have some staff faculty feedback. That way everybody has kind of an opportunity, a platform to share their thoughts on what improvements should be made on campus. But with that, I'll go ahead and tell you what we have for now. So I can tell you this has been a need that's been vocalized through many people, whether it's internal, external, Mr. Bidigan with the foundation as well. This is something that has been asked for quite some time now to put on the ICIP. So now that it's time to submit it, MCC student housing has been placed on there. Right now, I do have it as a phased project because a lot of the feedback I've heard from higher ed and the Capital Outlay Bureau, they've been stating that they want to see shovel-ready projects. They want it to be ready to go to construction. So with that, these are rough numbers. I don't have anything fine-tuned. A lot of this will eventually have to go before an engineer and architect to really get a fine number. But for now, I'm just capping it somewhere about $5 million. The first phase would be strictly planning and design. And if we could get past that and actually have construction-ready documents, we could start exploring other avenues federally. Student housing is currently not eligible through our summer hearing project. It's just one of those projects that's not eligible. It's more built towards infrastructure for instructional and general use, I guess, ING. The next thing we have on there is to repower the wind turbine. Again, this is another thing we've talked about quite lengthy between multiple people. It's something that we've explored and attempted to find multiple funding sources, whether it's through workforce type funds, economic development type funds, federal, congressional directed spending, you name it. We've approached many different avenues to try to get that up and going. A lot of this, what I'm presenting today, all ties together. It's kind of interesting. So your ICIP is kind of your foundation. You want to make sure that any project that you're going to be requesting funds for is on this document. So the next step to that, outside of your this is the ground layer. The state, they want you to explore multiple sources of funding these projects. They don't want just everybody, hey, let's just go to capital outlay and hopefully they'll fund every single project in the state. They can't do that because most of the time the ask amount is nowhere near what they have to fund those projects. So I forgot where I was going with that. I lost thought. But anyhow, so the wind turbine, that's something that we want to help because it's something that benefits the college, the community. It's not only driven towards our students, but the different agreements with other community college, other schools throughout the state, workforce, certificates, etc. So that's an important staple to us.
And I would note too, for those of you that were here for the LFC meeting, we went over to the wind building, and one of the questions Director Charles Salee asked was, how much is that going to cost? Because they have a very big interest in seeing that repowered, I think, as well. So.
Correct. I remember I was going now with how everything ties together. So the next item after the ICIP recommendation is going to be our summer capital hearing projects and what we're presenting for. To give you all some background on that, maybe I'm explaining this too prematurely, but this is a great planning document because the summer hearing project, we will not receive those funds till August of 2027. And the reason behind that, it's a GEO bond year. So when you go to request funds, capital funds through the summer hearing project that Dr. Voss and I will go to, we will literally not see that till the earliest of August, probably of 2027. And the reasoning behind that is, first, we present, that's the timeline. We'll present this summer in July 30th, I believe is the date. After that, HED makes their recommendation, their committee, and they present that to LFC. LFC makes their recommendation, it goes through the legislative process. Once that's done, if we make it clear through the legislative process, then they actually have to go out and sell the bonds. That takes a while because now you have to jump up to, I guess that would be calendar year 2025, November, it'll go to election. Once that passes, then they actually have to physically sell the bonds. Once the bonds are actually finally sold, then it makes its way back to us about August of 2027 realistically. So a lot of these things are not just projects that we could snap our fingers and it's there that next year or even the year after. A lot of this takes 3 to 5 years to plan before we can even get it accomplished. Add inflation on top of that, changes in the economy, it could be quite difficult to come up with cost estimates and how everything's gonna tie out in a couple of years. But, so that's why numbers aren't really fine-tuned, some of these are kind of even, but what we were told, a safe number to repower that wind turbine is about $6 million. The next thing is Building D infrastructure renovations and repairs. Building D is our fine arts building, that's home to a little bit of everything from foundry to
Barrier.
farrier, welding,
You've got artistic blacksmithing, you've got welding applications, you've got, all the two-dimensional studio arts happening there as well.
So again, it was strategic. This is a building that serves a lot of different roles. And in doing that, it's been pretty difficult. I've heard it since I've arrived, new to the campus here in 2023, is the heating and cooling is in pretty bad shape. So yes, they have the mini split. Yes, they have the swamp coolers, but there's areas that really don't have heat or some areas that really don't cool down. And a lot of those materials they work with are temperature sensitive. So we don't want to end up wasting and losing what I guess there's what's the stuff that's really temperature sensitive?
We've
Some of
had,
the wax.
in the past, we've had wax in the foundry that's melted, once it reaches 100+ degrees inside the building. And we have, colloidal silica suspensions that are used for bronze casting that have froze. If we have them close to the wall, they freeze. We gotta pull them to the heater units,
Again, trying to provide everybody a great, comfortable working and learning environment, but also being financially responsible. We don't want to waste a lot of money by materials wasting and no longer being able to be utilized. So with that, this is a large number. This would include some engineering, some electrical work to update the electric panels, run what's needed because the entire system would change. I'm looking at doing a true HVAC package unit similar to what we have in all of our other buildings. That way it's centralized heating and cooling. It makes it better, it's comfortable for everybody. So that's a plan for that project. Some of these other are a little bit smaller but just equally as important. Our facilities maintenance still doesn't have a pickup for facilities maintenance. They're still operating out of the Yukon, which is our largest vehicle besides the 15-passenger van. So it becomes an issue first with the age and the date of the vehicles that we own, but also we're limited on how many different events on how we could send people out of town. So if Dr. Axel has a dyno dig, we have the golf team out in the van. I mean, our resources are pretty limited. So again, besides the age of those vehicles, we definitely need to consider the purchase of some new vehicles, and it also helps reduce the college having to pay out mileage if multiple people are traveling at one time. And that kind of runs into the next one. The campus vehicles is specifically, I didn't give any kind of specific branding, but it's a larger SUV, a Suburban or Yukon, something of that size. And 2 smaller vehicles, whatever those would be, something a little bit more easier fuel-wise, so it's cheaper, so we're not having to spend too much to fill up and go out of town. Next is the Dinosaur Museum roof and exterior repair. So this specific item is still on there, considering I just talked about the exterior wall and the interior, because that's kind of more of a short term. We want to stop the bleeding, if you would, but long term, I think to really get that going, we're going to have to do some kind of major drainage improvements, potentially a repair of the roof. So I want to keep that on there on the radar, just for the fact that I think there's more going on than what we can see on the exterior right now. Next is the LED and electrical energy efficiency project. That's been on there as well. It was a rollover from a previous year. Again, just being more energy efficient, saving money. Internally with our own facilities maintenance funds, we've been changing out light bulbs to LEDs. I haven't had a chance to look at the utility bill and see the exact cost saving that we've had to date. But I've had representatives from Excel reach out to me already. We could get a rebate for what we've done to date, plus what we expect to do in the future. And then I believe it was the New Mexico Gas Company that also reached out last week or the week before. Kind of the same thing. Anything that's gas operated, they have a rebate program as well. So that's what that project's about. And then last, I just threw this in there to have a project for 2030 because it's something that's always going to recur. We need to have an asset management plan that we're expecting to replace 5-10 units every other year or so whenever we can get the funding. So I put $500,000 for HVAC replacements for the year 2030. And with that, I would stand for any questions you have about the ICIP.
And one thing I might add too is, like these smaller items like the vehicles, we are going to reach out to our local legislators to see about maybe some more direct funding. We haven't received anything direct, I don't think, from them for the last few years.
I'd say at least
I don't know when, or
3,
if
4 years
yeah.
at least.
And so now that we're getting in better shape, I think we could possibly approach them about that.
Well, and for sure, there's not gonna be capital outlay for $1 million that we would receive.
Yeah.
But you have to have, like Mark says, you have to have everything, this is your wish list, it has to be on the wish list to get funding.
Yeah.
So, if we get capital outlay, it'll be the smaller requests.
There was I think a news report or something just a few days ago about the capital outlay, about the amount of money that's sitting out there that hadn't been spent. And I think it would really behoove us to look at those and see, well, why hasn't it been spent, and avoid getting into that trap. If it's shovel ready, you know, basically.
But, and that's one of the things that LFC discussed more than once.
Yeah.
But it's a timing by the time you get the funding, and then once you get the funding, it's a year before you can spend it. So cost has increased.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an engineer's estimate for $1 million, by the time you get the money and get it estimates and ready to go, it's $1.5 million. But that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And as they said, they fund projects knowing that they don't have enough funding. They want to give them something, but they don't have enough funding to do anything with it. So then you have to wait another year to try to get another appropriation, and so it stays on the books. But it's really hard to get a project funded and then 2 years down the road actually start building.
Mm-hmm. So,
Mr. Sidwell, if I can, one thing that was heavily discussed at this year's Higher Ed Technical Summit was kind of exactly what Mr. Primrose was speaking on. We really don't know what the economy may be doing here in a couple of months, much less 2 years. So what they're allowing us to do is they're capping us, I can't remember the exact percentage, but throw a little extra contingency on top of it. Because like I said, who knows what it's gonna look like in August of 2027, once we would potentially receive funds for our summer hearing project. And there's some other things that have been adopted by legislation that they're changing to try to help with those unforeseen circumstances. I know they now have a set of funds specifically, what they're calling to kind of close out these projects. I don't remember the technical term, I got the notes back at the office, but say for example, we're going for the Building D infrastructure repairs. And say we asked for 750 and we came close, we got a bid, somebody could do it maybe for 900,000 at that time. They have an opportunity where we could apply for that up to $1 million, I believe, to kind of close out that project, get this money off the books. That way, again, that money's just not sitting there stagnant and it doesn't look like we're not doing anything with it. Also, in these grant agreements for these appropriations, we're contractually obligated to spend so much within the first 6 months, and then you have to have another percentage complete within your first year, second year, before it gets reverted. And if not, those types of things, if you're not complying with those agreements, they could potentially hold that against you in the future and you may not get funding. So even though it is difficult to spend these funds, there's hoops to jump through, we want to make sure moving forward that we do have great project management, so we are spending those funds and following those rules. So there's times there's some extra state funds available, and if we have a good track record on managing our projects, we may be able to be eligible for those funds if they start kicking them back and clawing them back, I guess, and they may redistribute those funds in the future. So we want to make sure we're doing everything we can within our means to do the best management.
When you make an estimate, do you build in any inflation figures or anything like that?
I do. So some of these, again, it would have been nicer to have exact quotes for what we're wanting to do, and then you could throw a contingency of say maybe 10%, 5 to 10%. Some people at that conference are stating maybe 3% inflation each month for the duration of that till you get to that August 2027. So there's been different ways to approach it. But yes, I have been trying to do that. And some of this isn't completely done. I think the most important part was getting this before y'all. This is typically not due till July 1st. However, that's another thing that's tied, everything's tied together. Our summer hearing project has to be on this ICIP document. That has to be improved before HED will accept our summer hearing project, which is due June 2nd. So it's kind of rushed. There's some fine details. I gave you the detailed printout. Some of that stuff isn't 100% filled out, which it will be. But the most important part is the ranking criteria, what year, the rank, the dollar amount, that will not change. So what you're approving is that meat and potatoes. The rest of it's kind of fine details that I have to work on. It's general question, will this affect people in the region, things of that nature. And I could definitely come back and show you that. I may present that at another meeting or email it to y'all to show exactly what's submitted. But again, the main thing is the project, the dollar amount, and the ranking.
And then at what point, or at some point, I guess you'll give a copy of this to Senator Woods and Representative Chatfield?
Yes, absolutely.
So they have a heads up.
This is definitely more of a wish list. Like I said, it'd be nice to get all of this, but I can tell you, no matter what state agency, so the summer hearing project is funded through capital outlay, specifically through the higher ed department. When it comes out in the bill, it's specific to them, whereas we still could ask locally if we wanted to Senator Woods and Representative Chatfield for one of these smaller items, and that's what Dr. Moss was mentioning. They could advocate for us for the higher ed funds, but we could also ask them, hey, in your junior funds or some of the funds you have, do you think you could get us a pickup or the Suburban or whatever we need? So yes, absolutely, they'll get a copy of this. And another thing, like I said, everything's connected. HED is actually working on a new software, and it's not just HED, it's actually the state as a whole for our reporting system. So all of our ICIP information, everything, a lot of the other stuff isn't being dumped into one software, and all of your legislators, us as staff, we could go in there and we'll see how everything ties together, that this is your ask, this is what you have, these are your current appropriations. So it makes their decision when they go to appropriate those funds, it makes their job a little bit easier by having everything in a centralized location. So yeah, they'll definitely see all of this.
Yeah, I think they get it all. Plus, they used to, when we requested something, we had to get our representative and senator actually sign it before you requested it. So, yeah,
So this, for example, our summer hearing project, if that's approved and it makes its way out, HED actually represents all of the higher ed institutions and presents on their behalf. Whereas if we have a smaller directly to our representatives and senator, then at that point, we actually have to fill that on our own, or we could go through EPCOG. There's a few different ways. You have to pre-file that online, and then like Mr. Primo said, that actually has to have their signature that they're sponsoring that and that we're applying for that. So it's a little bit different process depending the funds that you're trying to receive.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
any other questions for Mr. Martinez? All he needs to do is get us money.
If anybody wants to show up in the next 5 weeks with a pair of work gloves, I'm hoping the campus will be really busy.
All right, not any more questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve our 5-year ICIP wish list.
So moved.
That's it.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Seawood,
My voice is going.
Mr. Suba,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, Mr. Martinez, our capital project proposal.
Yes, sir. This is the last one. So I have this as a reference, that little cheat sheet in front so you can see from the ICIP. The process to fill out the actual summer hearing project is done online through an online portal. And that was just actually opened last week. So that again isn't completely fine tuned. It's due by June 2nd, but we are submitting 2 requests this year. The first one is to repower the wind turbine, again, because it is a large project.
Sorry.
The GeoBond years are the years to ask for a lot higher dollar amount. Typically, since I've been here, it's been 2 million range or less, but this is the year they said to ask. I don't remember exactly who it was. We talked to a lot of people, but maybe no more than 10, maybe 10 million or less is probably your range. So we felt that this fit really well within that dollar amount. The other submittal will be for the Building D infrastructure renovations and repairs. Again, this has been an ongoing issue since I've started employment here in 2023. So again, it's the highest priority at the time, where I feel we've been doing really well. The $750,000 that was approved by legislation this current session is going to alleviate a lot of the headaches that we have had. Between that, the insurance claim work that's been done, we should be looking pretty good, honestly. So with that, the next highest priority was the Building D renovations and repairs for the heating and cooling. I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess the other thing to let you know about the importance of y'all approving the project is, one, that you agree with the projects, that it's in the best interest of the college, but also the dollar amount. As a 2-year institution, as a community college, all community colleges have to potentially contribute up to 25% of the match of the total. So that is part of the reason for having a second project of a lesser dollar value, because that's something that we'll potentially have to match. In the past, we did ask for a match waiver. The match waiver was successful with the $750,000. I've been doing a lot of research and going back and forth with HED and asking what are the qualifications, what qualifications need to be met, I guess, to get that exemption. And now that we're not quite there, but we're getting there, we're doing better with financially, there could be a point where they may tell us, no, y'all are doing good enough, you're not gonna get that match waiver anymore. So it's good news and it's bad news. It's good because we're doing better, but it's bad because it's always nice to get that match waiver if you can. But it seems like it's a little bit harder to get that match waiver than I thought it was. So it's just something to be aware of. And we're not financially obligating ourselves just by submitting these projects. Of course, once it gets to that point, we'd have to either accept or deny. So we're not putting ourselves on the hook for 25% of 6 million or 750,000 at this time. That's just something I want to be upfront and let y'all know.
Any other questions about our capital project proposal? Basically what our ICIP.
Yes, sir.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the capital project proposal.
I make a motion to approve the capital project proposal.
I'll second it.
We've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate all you do. Thank you. Reports, they're on break. Next, is there any trustees' comments?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Next, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right. Good to go? I guess I need a motion.
I make a motion that we come out of
Executive session.
executive session.
I thought it was
I'm
just
trying to
me.
think
Wherever we were at, yeah.
I was trying to think of the words you wanted to use, but that just wouldn't come out.
Second,
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson,
yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
There was no action taken in executive session. There was no correspondence. On May 31st, which is this Saturday, we're going to have an ACC training.
What time? At
Was
nine?
this,
9
this Saturday?
this Saturday. Here.
Is it in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here.
This building.
And I gave everyone a copy.
Okay.
What
It's
time?
under
This
here.
was, it's
9
9 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And
2:30.
and this, what you're writing on, this is
Yeah.
our agenda.
Yeah, and the time
Uh,
and things on there, I think.
Mr. Jose Leiba is going to be here, and like I said, this is what he's going to go over. You know, he sent everybody a survey, and the trustees put in what they wanted him to talk about. And he took our top priorities, and so he made this agenda based on the survey that we did and what we feel is important. They'll have coffee and donuts. We're going to do a working lunch. Ms. Ragland's going to get us some lunch, and so we'll have a lunch, and we should be done between 2 and 2:30. So I think it's beneficial for us, but it's also it's HED is requiring it now that the trustees get some education, and so I think it's
Good
going to
start, yeah.
kill a couple of birds with one stone.
And HLC too.
And HLC,
Yeah.
right? And
Very good towards HLC.
Yeah.
training.
so in this, Dr. Leiba he's ACCT consultant, and it's free except we have to pay his
Motel.
his hotel and room and board. Then so the June 21st, 24th. So our next meeting will be June 24th. Instead of the 17th. And then for our training is our agenda. And that's all I have unless somebody else has any other concerns. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a question before.
Okay.
Did we have to vote on the change of meeting?
It wasn't an agenda item, so you don't need to vote. I think, how did you explain that?
Well, as long as everyone confers it's, will work,
Okay.
but there was an agenda item for a vote,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, we can't vote on it because
Yeah.
it wasn't an item.
Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.